This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. Royal Caribbean wins approval for a $100 million project on Paradise Island. FNM leader Michael Pintard appealing for loyalty as former leader Minnis speaks in Garden Hills. But Minnis says he respects leadership. And it's International Women's Day. We are talking about that all morning long on the show. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Chester Robards will be joining us. As we said all morning long, we're going to be talking about International Women's Day, looking at it from a number of different angles, straight through into business this morning. That's all straight ahead, but first, it's time for the overnight, the latest breaking news from while we're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, though, Philip Davis in opposition had expressed strong views against granting any Crown land lease to Royal Caribbean International and had instead advocated leasing the land to Bahamian companies for development. His government has approved now that it has granted, announcing it's granted approval for RCI to build its $100 million beach club project on Paradise Island, including 4 acres of Crown land. In making the announcement, Tourism Investments and Aviation Minister Chester Cooper said the government intends to convert the Crown land contribution into an equity stake, and that equity stake will be conveyed to the country's sovereign wealth fund. Cooper said that Bahamians will be invited to invest in the project as well and hold equity up to 49%, with the remainder being held by RCI. He said it's a first of its kind project, and will cover about 17 acres, of which 13 acres represent privately held land and some 4 acres of Crown land. The announcement regarding the RCI approval coming just 2 weeks after Chief Justice Sir Ian Winder found that Bahamian entrepreneur Toby Smith, who had been fighting for land on which to develop his $2 million Paradise Island Lighthouse and Beach Club, did not have a claim to Crown land in that vicinity, because his Crown land lease with the government for 5 acres was never executed. Battle lines appear to have been drawn in the Free National Movement, especially last night after party leader Michael Pintard and former leader Dr. Hubert Minnis had had what some viewed as a direct confrontation against each other, but at separate locations. While both men spent time castigating the Davis administration over matters including government spending, inflation, and taxation, it was the brewing conflict within the opposition party that was most evident. Minnis spoke to FNMs at the Garden Hills Constituency Association meeting, even though one senior FNM Deputy Chairman Don Saunders confirmed earlier in the evening that the association chairman was advised by the party not to hold the meeting. Pintard, meanwhile, was speaking at the Centerville Association meeting, his address coming hours after the FNM informed the media that he would be doing so. Both speaking at the same time and live on Facebook. The FNM's official Facebook page streamed Pintard, and Minnis's page was streaming the Garden Hills meeting. While he covered a range of issues, at the end, Pintard said there needs to be unity and loyalty in the party. Meanwhile, after addressing the FNM's Garden Hills Constituency Association meeting, former Prime Minister Minnis, who was asked about failed attempts by the party's leadership to block him from speaking, said, quote, "I respect leadership." Minnis making the comment after a reporter pointed out to him that FNM leader Michael Pintard at the Centerville Association meeting, going on at the same time, declared that the FNM was bigger than any one person. Immigration Minister Keith Bell says that authorities are searching for a small group of Haitian migrants that evaded capture following an illegal landing in a remote part of Andros. He said that on Friday, routine patrols and surveillance resulted in the discovery of the vessel that had carried the unlawful entrants from Haiti to the western coast of the island. He said investigations indicate that the vessel traveled near Cuban waters and was en route to the United States. He said it appears to be an increasing trend to avoid interception in Bahamian waters. Bell said that the group included about 116 men, 9 women, and 2 minors. And a man facing murder and attempted murder charges dropped his appeal against a bail denial by a Supreme Court judge, Shaquille Monroe, telling the Court of Appeal justices that he no longer wanted to challenge the judge's decision to refuse him bail. This means that Monroe will remain in custody until his matters are concluded, or if he's granted bail after renewing his bid for bail. Police officers arrested Monroe last April after they allegedly found him with a car with a rifle and a Glock pistol with 1 round of ammunition and 21 rounds of 9mm ammunition. Monroe and other occupants of the car are accused of opening fire on the officers who tried to stop them on April 30th of last year. Monroe is also accused of the March 12th, 2022 murder of Kenny Regaud and the attempted murders of Keanu Telford and Kevin Mezidio on April 3rd, 2022, and the attempted murders of Rashad Sullivan and Robin Delancey on March 30th, 2022. The prosecution's appeal against the directed acquittal of 2 men accused of causing a deadly tour boat explosion through negligence has been adjourned to next month. Prosecutors believe that Justice Jeannie Weich Gomez erred in law when she withdrew the case against Clayton Patterson Smith, the owner of Four Seas Adventures, and Roderick Watson from the jury, and told them to acquit the men. The charges stemmed from a June 30th, 2018 explosion in the Exumas that killed Malika Jackson and wounded her husband, Duran Jackson, Stephanie Schaefer, Stacy Bender, and Paul Bender. The men were jointly charged with manslaughter by negligence in Jackson's death. Watson, the boat's captain, was charged with negligence or negligently causing harm to the other passengers, and Smith was accused of negligently endangering the boat's passengers by not building the tour boat to industry standards. The matter's been adjourned to April 12th. Overseas, is the United States out to sabotage China? Well, Chinese leaders think so. President Xi Jinping accusing Washington of trying to isolate his country and hold back its development. That reflects the ruling Communist Party's growing frustration that its pursuit of prosperity and global influence is threatened by U.S. restrictions on access to technology in support for Taiwan and other moves seen by Beijing as hostile. Xi, China's most powerful leader in decades, appears to be above problems and usually makes fighting. Xi said the U.S.-led campaign of, quote, containment and suppression of China has brought unprecedented public to, quote, dare to fight. Tuesday, a foreign minister sharpened the warning, saying Washington faces possible, quote, conflict and confrontation if it fails to change course. The ruling party wants to restore China's historic role as a political and cultural leader, raise incomes by transforming the country of technology, and unite what it considers the Chinese motherland by taking control of Taiwan, the self-ruled island democracy that Beijing claims is part of its territory. And on this International Women's Day, leading women's rights campaigners of the United Nations and the African Union had a Nobel Peace Prize laureate criticizing male-dominated governments for excluding women from peace negotiations. They complained Tuesday that governments a UN resolution adopted in 2000 demanding participation for women in talks to end conflicts. The head of the UN agency promoting gender equality lamented the, quote, regression in women's rights, telling the Security Council that, quote, we have neither significantly changed the composition of peace tables nor the impunity enjoyed by those who commit atrocities against women and girls. The Security Council was assessing the state of the resolution it adopted on October 31st, 2000, that stresses the important role of women in preventing and resolving conflicts and demands their equal participation in all efforts to promote peace and security. It also calls on all parties to conflicts to protect women and girls from gender-based violence, especially rape and other forms of sexual abuse. Since the 20th anniversary of the resolution in 2020, the UN says Afghanistan's Taliban rulers have imposed gender apartheid, her words, and war in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region reportedly led to sexual violence at a staggering rate. She says coups in conflict-affected countries in Africa to Myanmar have dramatically shrunk the civic space for women's organizations and activists. The UN's Commission on the Status of Women began its annual 2-week session Monday, focusing on closing gender gaps in technology and innovation. It is also examining digital harassment and disinformation aimed at women that fosters violent misogyny. In sports, the Tour Daddy Defenders getting revenge and prevailing as champions in the new Province Volleyball Association men's division at the Antal Rogers High School gym. They executed a backdoor sweep, winning the best-of-5 championship series against a tough Warhawks team, 3-2. The Warhawks were the defending champions. Read more about it in today's Guardian Sports section. And Bahamas Aquatics Federation President Algernon Cargill optimistic about the team winning a 5th straight title at the Crifta Swimming Championships. That's set for April 6th through 9th in Curacao. Although he's optimistic, Cargill says that they cannot get complacent as other countries will look to dethrone them. Winning 5 would be a spectacular feat for the Bahamas. Read about why in today's Guardian Sports section. And from the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens putting the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson, preventing him from becoming an unrestricted free agent this month, but allowing him to negotiate with other teams. The deadline for teams to apply for the franchise tag was Tuesday. The Ravens were always expected to use it if they didn't reach a long-term deal with Jackson first. The main question was whether they'd use a non-exclusive tag or the exclusive one. Baltimore could have prevented Jackson from negotiating with anyone else by using the exclusive tag, but that would have cost significantly more. Instead, Jackson would make $32.4 million if he plays this season on the non-exclusive tag. Before that happens, Jackson and the Ravens can keep negotiating, and other teams can join in the bidding as well. Baltimore would have a chance to match any agreement between Jackson and another team And if the Ravens chose not to match, they'd receive 2 first-round draft picks in return. And from the NBA, Anthony Davis scoring 30 points and 22 rebounds. Dennis Schroeder adding 17 points and 9 assists. And the Los Angeles Lakers moving into 9th place in the Western Conference with a 112-103 victory over the Memphis Grizzlies last night. This despite losing LeBron James and D'Angelo Russell to injury. Davis turned in a superstar performance against Grizzlies, hitting 11 of 17 shots and repeatedly making big plays down the stretch while wearing a bandage on his nose from a first-half cut. He also blocked 2 shots, and L.A. held Memphis to 46 points in the second half of another strong defensive effort. Ja Morant missed his second straight game since the Memphis superstar apparently took a gun into a strip club on the road and then flaunted it on social media last weekend. The 2-time All-Star and Grizzlies' leading scorer is the target of 2 NBA investigations and a reported probe by Denver police. It's not clear when Morant will return from what was initially announced as a 2-game absence. That's sports. And that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. Here's your first look at weather for today. A cold front. A cold front will move into the south, will move southeastwards through the Bahamas with some shower activity ahead of the boundary. That's going to happen today through tonight. Mariners and beachgoers should exercise extreme caution due to hazardous seas, rough surf, sea swells, and the moderate chance of rip currents along Atlantic-exposed beaches and open waters. So for today, for all areas, we're looking at variably cloudy, hot, and humid conditions with isolated showers or a thunderstorm ahead of the front, becoming fair, breezy, and mild with a passing shower near the front tonight. Small craft advisory in effect due to sea swells. Winds north-northwest to north-northeast at 10 to 15 knots, falling light and variable at times in the northwest and central islands, light and variable in the southeastern islands. Winds becoming northeast at 15 to 20 knots after the front passes. Seas 3 to 5 feet, but building to 6 to 9 feet by this evening in north and northeasterly swells. 73 degrees right now, partly cloudy skies in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 86 Fahrenheit, 30 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 68 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius. So will it get cool at all? We'll tell you about that with your extended outlook coming up after traffic in just a bit. It's time for break, but when we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9, your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Get your Carifta tickets. The 58th Carifta Games is coming. April 7th to April 10th. Tickets are on sale now. Online at Carifta50.com or at the Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium, Western Grand Entrance. For more details, email tickets at Carifta50.com or call 605-4051. On your mark.
Carifta is almost here, and the Live has partnered with TCL for you to capture gold at the 2023 Carifta Games. Switch to a Live and get a free TCL 30 Plus or TCL 30 SE on select Live postpaid plans to share pictures and videos of our Bahamian athletes as they hit the tracks to win gold. Visit your nearest Live store or mobile van location and come gold with us at the 2023 Carifta Games.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at MorningBlend969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us 422-4796. Standard text rates apply. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, Chester Robards.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. Great to have you with us.
Glad to be here.
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about a lot about that this morning on the show throughout the day.
I'm loving this International Women's Day supplement in our paper.
You've got to pick up the Nassau Guardian today. Is a pretty big supplement. What is it? How many sections is this? It's quite a bit. But yeah, some wonderful stuff in there. And the Corporate Bahamas celebrating the women in their
came out
organizations.
in a big way.
Yeah. And so you'll see, many of you will see yourselves or your moms, your sisters, your wives, everybody being highlighted.
I see plenty familiar faces.
Yeah, so this is a must-get edition today. Run out and get it right now. Newsstands
Look at that, even
and on the streets everywhere.
Guardian Radio.
Look at that. Beautiful.
How you like that?
I tell you. Yeah, great stuff. All right, so again, we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. But there's a lot more going on right now in the news. And in the news, big stories in the Nassau Guardian today. Big stories, big headline. RCI wins approval for $100 million PI project. That's Royal Caribbean. We've been talking about that for years. The controversy there with that and with Toby Smith, what he wanted to do. So we're going to get into that in just a bit. Big drama in the F&M. Dueling speeches at the same time. It's Lord, what's that music from?
Star Wars.
Oh, God. No wonder.
Duel of the Fates?
Oh, okay. Thanks. Thank you for that, Chester. Wow. Anyway, we'll get to that too. But I just, there's a lot going on. But I do want to, we talked about this quite a bit yesterday, and we got some clarity yesterday on this. The two murder victims from the night before, one out on bail for several murders. We learned that several meant 6. And this is crazy stuff. I just want you to hear this. We're not going to dwell on this too long, but take a listen to this from our Paige McCartney.
Today, Minister of National Security Wayne Monroe said the issue of accused killers being out on bail remains a problem, as seen in last night's shooting.
This is a part of the ongoing issue that I indicated last year and this year, that we intend to engage with the Chief Justice to seek to assist the judiciary in doing all that we can do as stakeholders to make sure that the system is moved efficiently. It is unacceptable that somebody could be on bail for 6 murders. Again, the second person who was killed, I have no adverse information about him in the quick briefing that they send me. But that continues to highlight that your association could put you in harm's way.
Meantime, Johnson also urged members of the public to be wary of the company they keep.
The person who is being monitored, he's in his mid-30s. The other individual, appears to be in his late 30s. It's too early to say at this time what the motive is, but we're working some significant leads in relation to these 2 homicides, and the investigation is looking pretty promising at this time.
In other news...
Okay, Paige McCartney with that report there. You heard the Minister of National Security. It's unacceptable that somebody could be out on bail for so many murders. So he is got a lot of power in changing that. What are they waiting for? When are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? Tell us.
I think he said in the same interview that they are waiting for something from the DPP. Yeah.
The DPP or the AG's office? DPP? I mean, is it not an adjustment in the legislation that's going to be required? Okay.
But I guess the argument, he was saying that they're making the argument that having people on bail, especially a prolific offender like this person, alleged prolific offender, is dangerous to the community. And that's going to be the argument.
It's been the case for years. We've seen this pattern for years. Yeah. It's dangerous to the community and to the person. And as we've seen, sometimes the people, they're accused of something that happened very recently. But in other circumstances, I believe in this case, this could have been, from what I'm being told, maybe as much as 10 years ago. So we really have a lot of issues to deal with. But we continue to hear a lot of talk.
Yeah.
This is not a new development. It's been happening over the last 5 years especially. What were we waiting for? What are we waiting for? Waiting to hear again from some... Come on. But let's get your views on it, folks. Six murders. Six murders out on bail, walking around, hanging around in parks. Accused, allegedly, yes.
I think one of the important things that he says and that we've been saying for a long time is people's families and friends, or whatever you could call those people that hang around those kinds of people, need to isolate these people. You know their lifestyle, you know what they've been doing.
Yeah.
You should use your best judgment and right-thinking brain to understand that being around this person could get you killed.
Absolutely. Now, that does happen, probably most of the cases, but in many, as you have heard, people are out and about. Nobody's restricting their movement at all. They will be at fairs and parties. Yeah. They will be there, and someone will take an opportunity, and you could just happen to be standing by them.
Or walking by them.
You don't even know who that is, and you're shot in the head. So, yes, be careful of the company you keep, but if there's no restriction on this person out on bail for 6 murders,
I don't
you
understand.
put me in danger. Everybody involved in this.
Yeah.
The judiciary, the government, every single person, you are doing this to us.
I don't understand the monitoring situation.
We have that.
How?
Do we have that?
I don't know.
There are no restrictions on them. What's the point of having this ankle
them
bracelet?
I'm sure you don't live on the park.
After the fact, we know, oh, yeah, he was here. Because, first of all, his body's here. But also, yeah, we could see.
I think this is a restrictive region around the house, right? This is supposed to be house arrest. Isn't monitoring supposed to be house arrest?
In some societies, that's how they use it. You are limited. You don't have full.
You're limited
freedom.
to an area.
Yeah.
He must live
ankle
close to the
bracelet
park.
means go free. Be free, young man. So we've got this all backwards and upside down. It's insane. And then we're talking garbage about
this is a real Stranger Things
be
situation.
careful of the people you hang around. Yeah. Which is true. But still. Restrict their movements.
Yeah.
If they must be out on bail. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. But this is clearly at the feet of the legislators. They could fix this. They could fix this immediately.
Yeah.
Text is 422-4796. Caller, what say you on this?
Good morning, Dwight.
Hi.
And good morning to you again.
Good morning.
I don't mind people calling me how you get in the voice call up, but I will say over and over again. 6 bails for murder. Where you think that come from, Dwight? Who gives bails for murder? Any of y'all want to take a guess at it?
I mean, the judges, yeah, of course. But I mean,
yes.
But they're
and who starts to stand in the front of the judge on my behalf or your behalf?
But I mean,
a lawyer.
Well,
okay. Now,
if it's allowed, though, it's allowed. It's in the law.
What is allowed?
It's allowed, and so we are not.
Thing.
That
right.
The judge is doing what
murder. Allowed.
If the prosecutor doesn't make a good enough case, and
right,
the law allows
bail, in order to get bail, Dwight, you got to do at least 18 months.
Oh yeah, you sure?
18 months. So if you don't do 18 months for one and you get bail, maybe even twice, right? But the third thing, you have to do another 18 months. These things seems to be overlapping, Dwight. So that means there is some corruption somewhere in there. And like I told you the last time you and I spoke, I don't give myself bail. My parents don't give myself bail. It's between the lawyer and the magistrate. That's where that coming from. Corruption. Now, y'all do some investigative journalism. I know you're scared to do it, right?
No, I need you all to stop saying that, right? So we can. I don't know what you all mean by that, right?
Okay,
so if you know something,
saying,
you've got to give us the tip. So if you want to call back,
don't get upset.
No, I'm just saying.
When
people
I say that, I don't mean that no negative.
I understand, but people like to throw that around like as if.
I agree.
Bahamians aren't talking.
They say it too. Okay, well, y'all need to go a little more in depth. And let me rephrase a bit. I apologize.
Okay.
Go a little more in depth. Find out some of these top cases. Who are the lawyers and the magistrate?
Okay, now you're going to get all this in trouble. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, look where he went there. Trouble now. Yep. All right. Interesting. Let's read some text messages. I want to get on to some other things in the news. Okay, that's about Royal Caribbean. We'll get to that in a moment. This person says here, a police officer needs to be on Gladstone Road West. Cars are making a third lane. Yeah, it's a mess.
Police need to be lots of places.
This texter says the National Security Minister has made a living knowing the shortfalls in our justice system to get his many of whom were okay. Do we? Oh boy, yeah. All right, lots of stuff being said
if
there.
I can just add to that person who's upset about traffic, please. Police need to be there by the hill, by Garden Hills, just west of East Street, where people leave East Street, cut through Garden Hills to go around to head to Blue Hill Road on the highway, and make 6 lanes of traffic in that corner is a complete nuisance.
Sounds horrible.
Lots of laws being broken there. You want tickets? One police could fill out all the tickets they need for the year in that one place in the morning.
Too many of his cousins. Were there? Nobody heard that, right? Were there 6 murders allegedly done separate times or the same time? Everyone was asking me that yesterday. Does it make a difference? Is one worse than the other? I think it's.
I missed that. What?
Was it 6 at one time or 6 consecutive? Like, you know,
No, it was a couple.
I don't know if it makes a difference.
You spread it out.
It's all.
It doesn't make a difference.
Doesn't make a difference. Anyway, that's the important fact here. Is it? If done separate times, then how do you continuously get bail over and over? I see what you're saying. Clearly, you should not get bail again after the first one. Interesting point.
Well, you get bail on the first one. And
Well,
you
again,
get picked up for murder on the second one. How long afterwards? Maybe you shouldn't get bail after that.
well, again, if the case was 10 years ago,
Yeah.
yeah. This one says there's no time frame for a person to be considered bail. It all depends on the situation. You're right. That isn't right what the caller said. I know people who last year they were accused of something and they're out and about and walking around, going to parties, having a time of their lives. But you did hear the guy in the papers today. You heard that story, right? So somebody who's getting it, he's asked them to, he's dropped his bail appeal. He's like, I'll be safer in prison than getting out here. Apparently
Is that what he said? Is that what he's doing it for?
Well, I would hope.
Or is the evidence so stacked against him, like
What?
like
No, please.
Wayne Monroe said yesterday,
No.
that he doesn't want a longer sentence than he needs to get by
No,
cooperating.
he just doesn't want bail anymore.
Yeah, okay.
That means
But why?
because everybody on bail's getting killed.
Oh. Yeah,
I
maybe.
mean, what else could it be?
Maybe that's
You
the
think he
case.
wants to be at
But
Foxville prison?
doesn't the story say that he could still get bail?
Yeah, but he's
So he's dropping
he was appealing it.
Appealing it, right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So he's dropping the...
No, never mind.
Don't.
He's got a long list of charges.
Don't let me out, don't let me out.
He's a long list of charges. I'm
Yeah,
okay.
he does. Yeah.
What y'all need to do in here?
Yeah. Interesting story.
So the second person who was hit was just sitting down minding his business. So his family says, the police don't know him.
But again, if that person wants to be protected long term, shouldn't he just plead guilty too?
Why would you say that?
Because if he gets out off, he's still in danger.
That's a different story.
I guess so.
Different story. This person says, I was saying for years that stiffer penalties for firearms are needed. Please don't know why no one is hearing this. Everyone's hearing it. Well, all of us are hearing it. Do they listen? That's the thing.
Like 10, 20 life? That kind of stiff penalty? We've talked about that so long
Yeah,
ago.
everybody. People talk about years for a bullet.
Yeah.
Right? People
Yeah,
are saying that,
that's crazy, yeah.
but nobody wants to. No. Again, people say, where are we going to house them? The place is already crowded. What are we going to do?
You're building a new prison? Yeah.
Whoa.
They are, aren't they? Expanding
I
it,
never heard that.
right? Are they?
They're adding on all the time. Sure.
So there you go. Make them build it too.
Go up like a skyscraper prison.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Listen
Like-
to you.
Like in Miami.
That's not cool. They're trying to not do this as much, incarcerate people, apparently.
We're not doing enough to fix the problems that leading to these
Yeah.
people going into prison. So
Yeah. Just because the police bring charges and take it to court doesn't mean that the person actually did it. You have to use the words alleged and suspected for a reason. Well, first of all, we don't even know the name of this person yet, so whatever. And the person says, I could say Dwight committed 10 murders. Does that mean he did it? No, not if you say it. But if...
the police said it.
yeah.
If they go dig up Dwight's backyard.
6. What? This is not a joking matter, Chester Roberts. You need to stop playing. All right. You chastise the gentleman for saying you all should do more investigative journalism, but in the same breath complain that he will get you all in trouble when he simply said that you should look into connecting. Yeah, because that's a serious
That's
accusation.
a real accusation.
That's a serious accusation, right? Now, if he wants to call and tell us what he seems to think he knows,
Right. That's the difference.
and then we investigated like that, but to put that out on the air like that is dangerous. It is very dangerous. So clearly you all don't understand how things work. Boy.
Nobody who uses the term investigative journalism really understands how it works in this country.
Clearly. I was just having this conversation. That one of the most famous pieces of investigative journalism the Watergate scandal, right? I mean, that came from the first thing was a tip, right? Deep Throat. They didn't know. Nobody knew. Somebody had to say something. But are you all telling people anything?
Yeah.
Who are you telling? Are you willing to come and talk? No, because you're very afraid. But you just want, I guess, reporters to go breaking into people's offices and going through the files. That's what because you watched that on a movie. But you're not willing to talk. And yet, when there is a scandal and foreign news agencies come, people are very quick to talk to them.
Oh, yeah.
And I figured it out. It's because
I haven't figured it out.
They're only here for a few days, and then they're gone. And a year from now, when they see you in the supermarket, they won't see you in the supermarket, and you won't have to this is the one I gave the information to that caused all those people to get fired. Yeah,
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so. But if you have to see me every day, like, oh, it's you. Hey, how you doing? You okay? No one's trying to. Yeah,
I think we just like foreigners. That's just ingrained in us.
Okay. Certain types of foreigners, I guess. We have to do a whole show on this, I think.
Yeah.
But we do need the public to not be afraid to be a whistleblower. You know, you just screaming, "We need investigative reporting." That means you know of something. You suspect, but you're not saying anything.
Yeah.
You just want to put us in danger.
Also, I think we think outrage from outside of the Bahamas is probably more effective than fake outrage locally.
It's not fake. But I guess when you say it often enough,
yeah,
they
exactly.
think, oh, it's you again, always complaining, right? But if I get someone to say some of the things we talk about every day on the show from Canada, oh my goodness. To deny bail is to deny justice. People are presumed innocent until convicted. A police officer charging someone does not make that person guilty. And you, Dwight, you're being so cavalier with your words. I hope that you're never accused of a crime and have bail denied to you. We must always let the law take its course.
So cavalier.
Okay. Well, if it makes you feel fine to hear somebody's out on bail for 6 murders and be comfortable with that, well, the law was taking its course. And that's which one sounds better?
I mean, so they think that person should be out?
Yeah, I guess. Why not? And free to move around everywhere, yeah? Hang out at your kid's school, maybe? That's fine. Okay. Yeah? Well, let's keep doing it. Let's keep on doing it. Only people on bail getting murdered? That's fine.
That situation at Chesapeake and whatever, 2 years ago?
Oh, off Kemp Road.
Yeah, the car that was shot up.
Yeah.
And the little baby got grazed, and that could have been so much worse.
Didn't everybody die?
All the guys in the car died,
okay. So we mean, the baby too. That's what you mean by worse. It was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Oh. Did that sound bad?
Everybody's dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Ooh.
It could have been much worse.
It could have been worse in terms of bystanders.
More death.
Yeah.
Let's take this call, folks. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, I have a solution. I want your opinion on it real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We have men in prison who are murderers, and they sort of like to kill. They come out to kill again. We have people who are running from pain in the country, and they want to find a better life. Why don't we sign a treaty with, say, like Russia or Ukraine, and have these young men go and serve? Welcome them to fight, since they want to fight, and then they won't be here to kill. They can get off on fighting, and they probably will actually help somebody win a war. I mean, what's wrong with trying to get them to do what they like to do in the arena they want to do it in? Your opinion, please.
Well, that's not
Chester, I'll let you handle that one. Okay, thank you very much.
I think he's given that suggestion before, and that's not the arena that they want to do it in. So they'll become human shields over there.
But also, what if, then they help win the war, and then they come back, and they were damaged
Why do you want to send them
before,
there, though? They could help Haiti.
and then they come back, and then is that going to be reform? Are they going to, are you just creating a Terminator-type creature?
I don't think
He's hoping
thinks
that
they
something
won't come
horrible
back.
will happen. Oh, okay. So just sending them to be executed.
They would be hailed as heroes when they come back.
Oh, boy. This texture says the answer is swift justice. Yeah. The answer is swift justice.
You mean swift justice?
To prevent, these backlogs and people being out on bail and all this speculation.
When I think about swift justice, I think about the thing that was heralded as the next best thing in the court system, swift justice.
Mm-hmm.
Not that justice is about to be swift.
I mean the specific. Okay.
Whatever that initiative was. All 20 years ago now? I don't even know how long ago.
I mean, at the time, it sounded like it was doing something. But we've fallen away from it. Let's take one call and we got to move on. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning, Dwight. Just again, I called to clarify something that I said earlier.
Sure.
And to the Bahamian Shakespeare, the last caller, tell him get real, man. Keep this thing real. We got a problem. Listen, the standard time in prison for bail for murder is 18 months. This ain't something I'm asking nobody to guess or get emotional with. Now, if a person gets out on bail without the 18 months, that means there's some mitigating circumstances that went down.
So it's a lot of that.
That is how the law goes. Pardon me?
There's been a lot of that. People are really getting out much sooner.
And that's the reason why when I call your show, right? I speak from experience. Now you tell me, maybe it's something I want to say. I gave you some clues. And people out there supposed to be smart enough to see what I'm telling you. I sat down involving myself, so no speculation, with a case I had in the magistrate court. And when me and my lawyer was finished, we went to sit down for lunch. Guess who came over to sit at the table? The prosecutor. My lawyer, this was way back then, so we don't know nobody gets scared, gave the prosecutor, the sergeant prosecutor, an envelope and told him, you know what to do with that. Make sure the magistrate get a raise. Okay? Some people got to learn to think, man. We ain't always got to go there. How you think police solve crimes? They pick up one or two clues and they patch it together. Thanks, that's all I call this thing. To all those who talking about, this or that. The standard time for murder, if it's not mitigating, is 18 months. Thank you, Dwight.
Okay.
Okay.
Something he experienced personally.
My God. But he says a while ago, not anybody right now.
Right. Yeah.
But okay.
Hey. Does corruption exist? Sure it does. All over the place.
So I want people to message us. Let us know if you want us to pursue that story further, to find out who that was. Or you think those people's names should be revealed? Do you think that should be a thing? Let us know. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us. We'll be back after these messages.
Government boots.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
I'm Rita Foley with an AP News Minute. The UN Secretary General is in Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, having arrived just this morning. The UN says Antonio Guterres is meeting today with President Zelensky
to discuss the continuation of the Black Sea Grain Initiative in all its aspects, as well as other pertinent issues. That deal allows Ukraine to export grain from its Black Sea ports and permits Russia to export food and fertilizers. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Many around the world are taking part in demonstrations, rallies, and events to mark International Women's Day today. The UN Secretary General says women's rights are being abused, threatened, and violated around the world. 2 survivors of that deadly kidnapping in Mexico are back on U.S. soil. They were taken to a hospital in Brownsville, Texas on Tuesday. 2 other Americans were killed after the group got caught up inadvertently in a drug cartel shootout last week. I'm Rita Foley.
It's time for your first good traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC. RBC's mortgage specialists can provide helpful solutions to make your dream home a reality. In real-time traffic this morning, we're seeing heavy traffic on Gladstone Road from just north of Fire Trail straight up to John F. Kennedy Drive in the northbound lanes there. Milo Butler Highway also busy for you from well south of Fire Trail this morning, straight to Tonic Williams-Darling Highway. And it's going to be traffic's backed up for you along Fire Trail as well, both directions, east and westbound to that roundabout. So keep that in mind if you're in that area. Also this morning, we're seeing some unusually heavy traffic on West Bay Street, heading toward Coral Harbor Road, heading toward what's called Airport Road often. So keep that in mind. That is much heavier than usual at this hour. Carmichael westbound to Coral Harbor Road also busy for you at this hour. Elsewhere, Prince Charles Drive at the major intersections, heavy traffic. So that's Fox Hill Road and Beatrice Avenue and Soldier Road. And Bernard Road looking busy for you westbound, especially near the schools in the area, quite a few there. And Eastern Road from just about Fox Hill to Johnson Road. That's what we're seeing so far. We'll have another update for you after the 8 o'clock news. That's your Morning Blend Traffic Alert, brought to you by RBC. Visit rbc.com/take 60 seconds to connect with an RBC mortgage specialist. And time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by the Bahamian Music and Heritage Festival. A cold front's going to move into the northwest Bahamas today. It's moving southeastwards through the Bahama Islands, and it's going to bring some shower activity, finally, ahead of the boundary. That's going to continue through tonight. So mariners and beachgoers should exercise caution due to hazardous seas, rough surf, sea swells, and the moderate chance of rip currents along Atlantic-exposed beaches. For all areas today, look for variably hot, cloudy, and humid conditions, with isolated showers or a thunderstorm ahead of the front, becoming fair, breezy, and mild with a passing shower near the front through tonight. Smoke-craft advisory in effect due to sea swells. Temperatures getting up to around 86 Fahrenheit, 30 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down about 68 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius. In your extended outlook, rough, hazardous seas and dangerous swimming conditions will continue throughout the country, while a high-pressure ridge will build behind the frontal boundary. So for Thursday, tomorrow, partly sunny, hot and breezy with a passing shower. Friday, partly sunny and hot with a passing shower. Don't forget, we spring forward this weekend, returning to daylight time on Sunday morning. This weather check brought to you by Bahamas, the Bahamian Music and Heritage Festival. Get ready to groove to the beats of Bahamian music and soak in our rich cultural heritage at the 17th Annual Bahamian Music and Heritage Festival, March 16th through 18th in Georgetown, Exuma. It's the ultimate celebration of Bahamian culture for you and your entire family, the Bahamian Music and Heritage Festival.
Whether you're looking for your first or new home, or even using your existing home as equity, RBC understands that your journey to home ownership is unique, and your mortgage financing should reflect that. That is why at RBC we have dedicated mortgage specialists that provide sound advice and helpful solutions to make your dream home a reality. Best of all, the RBC mortgage team is mobile, flexible, and will meet you almost anywhere. Visit rbc.com/take 60 seconds to connect with an RBC mortgage specialist.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Is your 2023 goal to move into your own home? Well, future homeowner, enjoy another payday. Build or buy a home with financing from CIBC First Caribbean, and you'll receive cash back every month for 1 year. A home is one of your greatest investments, so secure one soon. Visit CIBCFCIB.com/homeowners payday for more info. Offer valid from January 9 through to March 31, 2023. Terms and conditions apply.
Florida Auto Parts can deliver all the auto parts your car will ever need, direct from the USA and from around the world. Florida Auto Parts provides fast delivery on auto parts, and we ship throughout the Bahamas, genuine or aftermarket, new or used, and all for the best price. Call Florida Auto Parts Trusted Parts Rep on WhatsApp at 1-786-772-8777 to save on your next auto parts purchase. Florida Auto Parts, the right parts at the right price.
Welcome to the power of Visa, with access to thousands of travel and shopping and dining discounts with up to $1,500 in savings yearly with Mobile Assist's new prepaid Visa travel rewards cards. Book the cheapest flights, even cheaper than Orbitz and Expedia. Get cash back at participating hotels, car rentals with automatic insurance, and online shopping discounts at U.S. stores like Gap, Best Buy, and more. Get your 30-day free trial when you download our Mobile Assist app. Visit Mobile Assist/rewards now for your prepaid Visa travel rewards card.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
With so much going on in the world today, only accepting cash at your business can be risky. Let Fidelity offer you and your customers safety, convenience, and the flexibility of a fixed or mobile terminal. Take it with you, on the move and on the go, because business should never stop. For more details, speak to one of our business development officers at 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 in Freeport. Visit our website at fidelitygroup.com or visit us at any of our branches.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Woman, I can hardly express my mixed emotions at my thoughtlessness. After all, I'm forever in your debt. And woman, I will try to express my inner feelings.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards on this Wednesday morning. It is International Women's Day, and we've got a full slate of guests for you this morning as we talk about this. Joining us for this first segment, we have our guests all the way from New York City. They are there for meetings with the UN. We have representing Civil Society Bahamas, Dr. Jacinta Higgs, and from the Bahamas Constitution Party, Ali McIntosh. Ladies, great to be talking with you again. Good morning and happy International Women's Day.
Good morning, Dwight and Chester. Good morning, Bahamas.
Good morning also. This is Ali McIntosh. We are also representing with the Josiah Institute for Leadership and Public Policy. So It's good to be with you all today.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. All right, so tell us what's happening up there. I know a lot of Bahamians are there. There's a lot going on. We know they have the UN Commission on the Status of Women. That's taking place. What are you all doing in New York?
All right, blessings and peace again, Dwight. We are here along with Minister Obadiah Wilchcomb, Minister of Social Service and Urban Development, with his special portfolio, the Department of Gender and Family Affairs. As well, Honorable Minister Pia Glover, she's here with us. We also have Senator Hepburn and a few others, along with about 60 women representing government, women in politics, representing civil society organizations, and then also representing private sector. And we are here because every year, the second week first week, second week in March from the 1970s. Governments from all around the world, that's the ministers responsible for women, must come to the United States, or they're invited to come to give an update on the affairs of women in the country, and that's affairs in what is happening with women in terms of the social services, the social protections. Are you helping those who are most vulnerable, most marginalized, those who are indigent? What about their education status, STEM? Are you helping them with digital access, innovation? What is happening with the blue-green economies that we know are being pegged in the next few years, next decade in terms of jobs? Are you training them so that they can be prepared? And so this year, the theme is digital, meaning everyone, so not just women and women, but women, men, boys, girls must learn the new technology, artificial intelligence, etc., so that we can all begin to help with research, data, guidance in terms of information, who needs to help where, how do you use this information then to guide your national budget. And so it's called the Commission on the Status of Women. And the minister, thankfully, again, the Bahamas was invited to read the CARICOM report. And then also the minister will now make a national statement on behalf of the Bahamas. And so we're here to attend, it's over 700 meetings, trainings, guidance, updates that we have been attending collectively.
Did you say 60 people, 60 women?
And that is correct.
Oh, wow.
And definitely, Dwight, I'm sure of it. 80% of us paid our own ways, or our organizations paid our ways. You had some women who had to literally go out and get sponsorship. Yes, so 60 women plus are here along with as part of the Bahamian delegation. So we're very thankful that the government registered us under their delegation, which allows us to move into high-level meetings. And so yesterday, Honorable McIntosh and we were able to go into a high-level meeting with the Nordic countries because they are the most advanced with regards to digital technology, the abuse of the technology, though, against women and girls and against people in general. And then also the affordability, the accessibility, the advancement of it. And so we went in that session because we are a part of the Bahamas official delegation, even though we are civil society. That was a government meeting. So yes, there are over 60 of us.
Wow. All right. So with that theme, digital, how are we doing? How does the Bahamas compare to what we're seeing in the region and other parts of the world?
Well, Dwight, in addition to the meetings we went, and this has been power-packed, very high level, 4 of us is traveling together, representing at least 4 organizations. As we said, the BCP, the Josiah Institute, Civil Society Bahamas, I think, and the Royal Bahamas Police Force. So we are traveling together in our groups, and we've been in several high-level meetings, even with the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. So we've been at least in 2 meetings with him. But when we're talking about, in the meeting yesterday, we're talking about getting mobile or smartphones into the hands of rural women. I mean, it was a lot of talk, but when it boils right down, that is what it is. That women and girls, those are some of the persons who least likely have a cell phone. Even though we have a lot of persons in the Bahamas with cell phones, a lot of rural women on the Family Islands do not have it. And because they are not, they do not have this technology in hand, they are being left behind by some of the information, the sensitization, being aware of training, and even as entrepreneurs to be able to carry their business to the next level. And so yesterday in our that high-level meeting, we were able to learn what is happening, what the UN is doing, what the Commonwealth is doing, because we are obviously a part of the Commonwealth nations, that we must push the agenda to get mobile technology into the hands of women and girls. And so I didn't realize how important it was until we heard these conversations and realized that all the way from the level of the UN, this is being pushed so that young girls and women in the rural areas, even in the Bahamas, will be able to have access to the information on gender equality in all aspects of issues that we're facing.
And Dwight, you ask how we're doing. Sometimes first of all, Dwight, we're not good at research. That's the first thing. Secondly, Dwight, in the Bahamas, even if there's someone tracking and having data, have access to data, they don't share it. And so that's the big thing in the Bahamas. We need to have information accessible to us so that we too can compare and make decisions. And I'm speaking from a person who wrote reports on behalf of the Bahamas government. And so we now know, based on sitting in about 6 meetings so far, with the Commonwealth, with the Nordic countries, with the United Nations, that we are not faring well, Dwight, because they are talking about laws. They already have laws that they've instituted with regards to technology, with regards to the protection of women and girls. And again, everyone, they kept saying everyone as we move further towards the achievement of the 2030 goals. We're realizing, Dwight, that they're using the digital phones to access their university degrees. And so again, Dwight, we are not there. And so access, she talked about business, entrepreneurship. Dwight, we are not there yet in the Bahamas. So we're doing aspects of it, but it's not sustained, it's not strategic, it's not systemic, it's not systematic. Because you could have one ministry up and about on digital access, but Dwight, what about the other ministries? You know, and so then it will go up, and we'll have access to it, Dwight. Then we look, the systems go down.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Dwight, and then I want to make a point.
You make your point, and then I'll ask my next question.
Yeah, what was so important that I realized is that a lot of macro industries are led by women. These are industries that you can do with a sewing machine or a lawnmower or a stove to be able to make money yourself. And what we have understood in the Bahamas, and I think we brought that up in the last meeting before we came, is that when it comes to statistics, we are not good at it in the Bahamas. We do not register these things that are important to showing that we will progress in certain areas if the statistics is there. But in this meeting, they are pushing that the information, statistical information, is gathered. This is a problem across many countries, especially in Africa, where information was not available before. So now I think because we have been to several Commonwealth meetings, they are pushing the fact that we must look for information. We must make sure statistical data is there going forward so that as we prepare into the future, we will make certain that all is included in making, implementing what is necessary from legislation, from policy, because we know that many legislation, many policies is passed, but it never gets down to the grassroots, to the children in the schools. And if they do not know, especially when we're talking about gender equality and abuse, if the persons on the ground do not know what legislation and policy is in place, they just go ahead and they continue to abuse it. Yeah. So the education of the entire society is necessary so that we can advance the cause of what it is we're trying to accomplish with the sustainable and the millennium goals.
Well, Ali, I think you answered my question. Somebody was asking us about what comes out of these things. You go and learn that you are deficient in these areas, and then what? And when do we see the change here?
And so for me, Dwight, immediately I sat in the Nordic and I already asked them to please share the curriculum. They already have a whole curriculum, K through 12. Directly asked for me, definitely Honorable Glenys Hannah Martin, very avant-garde, and that we will present that to her. That's number one. The second thing is we asked for sponsorship in terms of producing videos. So Dwight, again, I remember sitting in the Senate, passing a law that dealt with sexual offenses, and Dwight, they were involving young students, young people, anyone over 16. And when it was finished, everybody bowed on the table. So I looked at the next senator and I said, wait a minute, when are we going into school to talk about this? So they said, the school, Jacinta, what are you talking about? I said, we just passed this act. And you tell all of these infringements, these laws, these offenses are dealing with young people. When are we now going to go out to the community and share with them? And they said, well, that ain't our role. Then I realized, oh my God, that the gap. So the disconnect. So the curriculum is what we are coming back with. Training packages, toolkits. We just got a whole toolkit from the Commonwealth, right? So toolkits are what we get back. Resources, right? Right now, Ali and I, our bags, and we come back here, we bring extra bags, not to go shopping. because I don't deal like that. We don't deal like that. But Dwight to bring back the books and the resources that they're giving us.
Excellent.
And then Dwight, I am school educated. Ali McIntosh, leader, she is not only women in politics, but she has the Josiah Institute.
Yeah.
And so she and I have been going specifically to sessions where they're giving out curricular documents, guidance, toolkits, etc. And then we will come back and do our training.
Excellent. We've got a break for news. We'll pick this up on the other side. I want to ask about equality and equity as well. This is Morning Blend on International Women's Day. Stay with us.
It's Wednesday, March 8th, 2023, and you're listening to the Guardian News Network Morning Report. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlene Ferguson. Thanks for tuning in. Topping the news.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We're streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796 on the Guardian Radio text line, powered by BTC. Standard text rates apply. And now at 8:23, time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. We've got a cold front. You haven't heard those words in a while, but a cold front's going to be moving in. It's moving toward the southeast now and through the Bahamas, and will bring some shower activity ahead of the boundary through tonight. Beachgoers and mariners should exercise caution, though, due to hazardous seas, rough surf, sea swells, and the moderate chance of rip currents along Atlantic-exposed beaches today. For today, look for variably cloudy, hot, and humid conditions across all areas, with isolated showers or thunderstorm ahead of the front, becoming fair, breezy, and mild with a passing shower near the front tonight. Smoke after advisories in effect due to swells. Temperatures getting up to around 86 Fahrenheit, 30 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down about 68 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius. In your extended outlook, rough, hazardous seas and dangerous swimming conditions will continue throughout the country, while a high-pressure ridge will build behind the frontal boundary. So for tomorrow, Thursday, partly sunny, hot and breezy with a passing shower. Friday, partly sunny and hot with a passing shower. And don't forget, we are springing forward this weekend. We return to daylight time, Sunday at 2 a.m. That's your Morning Blend weather check, brought to you by Bahamas First. Visit firstonlineinsurance.com and select a Bahamas First agent to purchase, pay, or renew your home or car insurance 100% online, or just stop by any Bahamas First agent. Bahamas First, celebrating 40 years as the first Bahamian general insurance company. What's first for you comes first for us. And let's get another check of your traffic in, brought to you by RBC. RBC's mortgage specialist can provide helpful solutions to make your dream home a reality. In your real-time traffic this morning, that traffic that we told you about on JFK Drive on the way to the airport road, Coral Harbor Road, really. That's still there. Getting some various reports about what that's all about. But keep that in mind if you're westbound, heading toward Lyndon Pindling International Airport this morning. Hopefully you aren't going to miss any flights as a result of that, but good luck. Carmichael Road, westbound to Coral Harbor Road, looking busy as well. And Gladstone Road, heavy traffic just north of Fire Trail, straight up to JFK Drive. Mila Butler Highway, as usual, your hot spot. Heavy traffic well south of Fire Trail, all the way up to Tonic Williams Darling Highway this morning. And straight through to the six-legged roundabout, multiple directions you're going to be seeing traffic as you approach the roundabout, especially eastbound on JFK Drive, southbound on your Providence Highway as well. Further up on your Providence Highway, heavy traffic from about Go Slow Bend straight to Saunders Beach and the roundabout there on West Bay, eastbound mainly. And as you exit the roundabout on the way to Arawak Key, you'll be seeing that in front of you. Then we've got Independence Drive, heavy traffic both directions, east and westbound, between the roundabouts at East Street and Blue Hill Road. Blue Hill busy for you as well from about St. Vincent straight up to that roundabout, and north on the way to Cordo Avenue near NIB and Big Pond. Wolf Road looking busy from multiple spots straight from Poinciana Drive to about Mackey Street, east and westbound at times. East Street also north of Wolf Road, heavy traffic there this morning. Eastern Road and Prince Charles Drive, as usual this hour, heavy traffic westbound for you. So a lot of traffic issues out there. You're going to need your patience this morning. Good luck to you. But that's your real-time traffic and your Morning Blend Traffic Alert brought to you by RBC. Visit rbc.com/take 60 seconds to connect with an RBC mortgage specialist. Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. So it is International Women's Day, folks, and all morning long we are going to be talking about this. We are talking with Dr. Jacinta Higgs and Ali McIntosh right now. They are in New York attending the UN Commission on the Status of Women and getting an update on them, on what they're discussing, what they've been discussing over these past few days and what they will continue to discuss. All right, so you've already mentioned equality and equity quite a bit. I want to talk about that. And when you are meeting with these international groups, and I'm sure they do ask about what we're doing, and I'm sure they are aware about our challenges with citizenship rights here and how we have different rules for men versus women. And I'm sure they are aware of the marital rape issue that has been just back and forth for years now. What's the response? What do they say? What's the critique? And what do you say?
Several things. One, Dwight, I know for sure because we were in a meeting with the Deputy Secretary General of the Commonwealth yesterday. And in that meeting, he disclosed that he was meeting with Minister of Social Services that afternoon. And so those are some of the closed-door meetings where these discussions are held. So let me tell you something, Dwight. Every year, we come up and you have to account on marital rape, on the status of women with regards to the migrants, on the status of women with regards to women who are poor, indigent families led by women households. And so they want to know, what are you doing for these women? And our government has to prepare the statement. That's where the minister will be presenting that statement. And then, Dwight, literally, there is a report and there is an outcome. They will tell your country, you need to do this, this, and this. I remember for me, one of the things during my tenure, they kept hitting us on the referendum on the Constitution. And we kept saying that, well, we had referenda, both, and in both cases, the people of the Bahamas. So we still hold on to, Dwight, that the country is sovereign. But Dwight, they're not going to let it go. It's not just the Bahamas. Many other countries are experiencing these same challenges. And so what do we say? We say, me, Jacinta, that's why I am here, Dwight, in New York, weathering this cold, because I'm telling you, it's sticky out there, right? But we're here because I want, when Honorable McIntosh and I come back, we have again Chief Superintendent from the Royal Bahamas Police, Janet McKenzie. She's representing Zonta. We have also Maria Jones representing women from Grand Bahama in terms of women in politics, women who run. So every year, CSW, the Commission on the Status of Women here in New York at the United Nations, which is where we are, ask 200 plus governments to report on what you're doing for women. So now we will see. That's why, again, you heard very early in this new administration, there was this talk about marital rape and regards to what you're saying, the migrants, because it comes up at these meetings. Next, though, Dwight, every 3 years, the Commonwealth Secretariat goes to a country. It's WAM, W-A-M-M, all capital. So now 13 WAM is going to be held in the Bahamas. So the Commonwealth is coming to the Bahamas, and they want to get a report. Not only that, Dwight, because I was there when these decisions were made. They're also coming back. They're going to travel to Grand Bahama and Abaco to see what the government did for women in climate change disaster zones. And so again, the accountability is not just talk. They traveled there when it first happened. Honorable Patricia Barron, Scotland, she came, and they're going to go back again. And then every 4 years, we have to report to CEDAW. That's the Commission on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. That one is in Geneva. And it so happens that because of COVID delay, all of these reporting cycles are now coming into one. And so the minister really has been calling upon civil society leaders to help pull together and say what is being done, what can be done, how can we collaborate and partner. We're waiting to see what decision Minister Obadiah Wilchcombe will make once we return. Because other than that, Dwight, civil society groups are getting ready to write parallel reports. They call them shadow reports. And Dwight, I don't particularly subscribe to it, because why go and write things about the Bahamas? Why put it out there like that when we can come together and work it? And so that's what my advocacy about. So the Commonwealth, Dwight, will be in the Bahamas from August the 21st to the 23rd. They've already been there doing their scouting. It will be held at Atlantis. And Dwight, the Bahamas is high front center here in New York, because they're promoting everybody to come down to the Bahamas in August. And so we really don't want them to come, Dwight, and then civil society standing outside with placards saying things. We want to be able to say, okay, we've made this advancement, this collaboration, this partnership.
Yeah. So to people who heard what you said, they're not going to give up the international groups, but to the folks that are saying, well, why are these groups forcing these beliefs on us? And we've spoken with the referendum that you mentioned, and that this is not a part of us. And what do you say to people who have that mindset that we are being made to adopt international beliefs?
I would respond in this, Dwight, is that when we come together in these meetings at the UN, we are sharing experiences and progress in our various fields, setting targets, strategies, action, and strengthening and forging partnerships. So in addition to what government is doing, there are NGOs and civil society also at the UN meeting. Some things, obviously, as you're saying, when we're looking at core values, are left out in some instances, but the partnering by NGOs and civil society helps also to bring that conversation to the table. So we know the fear and the fear-mongering sometimes people have regarding the United Nations and their agenda for the world. But our coming helps to partner with other organizations to make sure that faith-based agendas are on the table. We met with an organization just yesterday in regards to faith-based organization. As you know, I've just written a book, How to Reconstruct a Nation, Righteous Principles for Governance and National Leadership. The Josiah Institute for Leadership and Public Policy is also pushing that forward. The Bahamas Constitution Party has always been pushing forward the matter of the core values of the Constitution in the governance of the nation. So our presence here is putting that on the table. Jacinta Higgs spoke, Dr. Higgs spoke at the Baltic and Nordic countries meeting, and she just liked the room of fire. And one of the organizations that came running to her afterwards said, when you said what you said, we were so excited because we bring the message of faith-based initiatives and public policy to the table. And so it is, although some things are being brought forward, there are people here who are also pushing for what you're saying, so that the Bahamas, and they indicated to us in our meeting that the Bahamas and the Caribbean nations, some of them, even the African nations, are some of the nations that continue to hold fast to core values and will continue to push it forward. So our coming here is not about just getting what they are saying and bringing it, but to put our perspective also on the table so that every public policy, Dwight, and every legislation that we bring forward in our local countries has the core values, and that we do not just migrate to agendas that does not have the core values that we value.
Dwight, I served in politics. I offered myself. I've been called a
Oh boy, that cut out at the worst possible time. What did we lose, Dr. Higgs? Oh, you're back. Are you muted?
Can you hear me?
Okay, now we can hear you. Please, you've been called because that just cut out as if that had to be censored. So what were you saying? Mm-hmm.
I am saying that. Oh yeah, I was just. You know, we get hate, the abuse, the hate messages you get as a politician. And so, Dwight, I will not stop until we get minimum of 30 women in parliament. So you're asking, why are we persisting? Mm-hmm. I need 30 women to get into the House of Assembly. That's Jacinta's quest for the rest of her life. Because I've seen documents, Dwight, where this has been around from the early 1900s, but the Bahamas did not subscribe to it. I will not stop, Dwight, until the straw vendors. I have an aunt on the straw market. So you ask me why continue to push? Because of human rights, because of decency, divinity, and dignity. I was trained by the Roman Catholic Church, and I keep saying that. Why? Because human rights, they were always about human rights over political posturing and popularity. So, Dwight, why am I continuing? Because, Dwight, I am a mother. Dwight, because I took my family's inheritance and I invested in a school, Dwight, that don't make net profit in any every year. I'm about Bahamas. I'm here as a former FNM candidate, Dwight, working with the PLP government. I'm here about the aquamarine black and gold. I will not stop, Dwight, until women in climate, women who got devastated, and them and their children still in Abaco and Grand Bahama, while their husbands or their spouses or significant others in Nassau or different places trying to get jobs, Dwight. I will not stop until women in climate disaster areas know their rights, are trained for resilience. I will not stop, Dwight, until the gender-based violence. I saw a young female pastor, Dwight, who was raped and brutalized every night she came from church. Husband, yeah, you done be intent to God, and the pastor's there. Now you will tend to be drunk and in his state. Dwight, I heard the story sitting in that gender desk, and Dwight, I left knowing that I will not stop until we get that marital rape passed. I will not stop, Dwight, until women with disabilities, who, Dwight, sometimes, and the elderly women, the migrant women, like the women, the children. I did a study with the Ministry of Health just in October, and I know the stats, Dwight. I went to Abaco and Grand Bahama, me and Dr. Novia Karaluki, and we stayed there, Dwight, listening to those people, Dwight, indigent women, indigent families, who say, Dwight, and don't talk about no Haitian living in no bush. I saw that, and living in cars. I talking about Bahamians living in one dilapidated complex, Dwight, right in Grand Bahama. I'm talking about people who have become zombified. They saw a dead body. Their families got washed away from them. And Dwight, no one is speaking up for the psychological welfare. Thank God for the Bahamas Psychological Association, and the Ministry of Health is now trying to get this involvement. I was a part of the CAP survey. First one ever. Thousands and thousands of Bahamians were interviewed, Dwight. I know the pain. I carry that. And so, Dwight, I have a daughter.
Wow.
I have two daughters, Dwight. And Dwight, I have a little granddaughter. I will not stop. And I'm going to ask God to give me the grace, the guidance, and the protection to form networks with women in the Bahamas and here internationally to keep preaching the message until 53% of the women who are voters in the Bahamas will vote. One by one, not Dwight. I want to vote on one issue at a time. One at a time. So it's very clear what we are voting on.
Right.
Dwight, so that we can get these things represented. The Commonwealth is coming to the Bahamas in August to find out what we're doing.
We hear the passion. We love it. Dr. Jacinta Higgs, Ali McIntosh, thank you so much. When you come back, we have to talk more about what's happening there at the UN. But thank you very much. Appreciate it.
God bless you. Thank you for having us.
All right.
Love Dr. Higgs.
Right. We're going to have more after the break. We've got Senator Michaela Ellis with us and more on International Women's Day. Stay with us.
Whether you're looking for your first or new home or even using your existing home as equity, RBC understands that your journey to home ownership is unique and your mortgage financing should reflect that. That is why at RBC we have dedicated mortgage specialists that provide sound advice and helpful solutions to make your dream home a reality. Best of all, the RBC mortgage team is mobile, flexible, and will meet you almost anywhere. Visit rbc.com/take 60 seconds to connect with an RBC mortgage specialist.
Florida Auto Parts can deliver all the auto parts your car will ever need, direct from the USA and from around the world. Florida Auto Parts provides fast delivery on auto parts, and we ship throughout the Bahamas, genuine or aftermarket, new or used, and all for the best price. Call Florida Auto Parts Trusted Parts Rep on WhatsApp at 1-786-772-8777 to save on your next auto parts purchase. Florida Auto Parts, the right parts at the right price.
Ready to save? You can put $100 into the CFAL Savings Express Plan and make sure your money keeps growing. Earn interest on your savings while you're sleeping, eating, or standing in line at the bank. Ready to invest? Start by putting $1,000 into our mutual funds and earn interest there too. Because at CFAL, your interest is our interest. Visit CFAL.com to start now. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations of Bahamians.
Get your Carifta tickets. The 58th Carifta Games is coming. April 7th to April 10th. Tickets are on sale now. Online at Carifta50.com or at the Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium, Western Grand Entrance. For more details, email tickets at Carifta50.com or call 605-4051.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
Whether your business is in store, on the go, or both, let Fidelity work with you to maximize your customers' payment options with a fixed or mobile terminal so that you never miss a sale. It's safer than cash and more convenient so that you can take your business anywhere. For details, contact a business development officer today at 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 in Freeport, or visit our website at fidelitygroup.com.
Fidelity, we're good for you. She's just a girl and she's on fire, hotter than a fantasy, lonely like a highway. She's living in a world and it's on fire, filled with catastrophe, but she knows she can fly away. Oh, she got both feet on the ground and she's burning it down. Oh, she got her head in the clouds and she's not backing down.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards. We continue with our International Women's Day special. Again, pick up today's National Guardian. There is an incredible International Women's Day supplement in there. You've got to see that. Celebrating women all over the country. This morning, we are very pleased to have with us for the first time in the studio. We've talked to her a number of times on Zoom, but she is here with us now, Senator Michaela Barnett Ellis. See, because we were talking about it off air.
I know.
Senator Michaela Barnett Ellis is joining us. Good morning. Great to have you with us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here in person.
Yeah. Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day to you and to all of the women in the Bahamas.
Yes, you heard former Senator Jacinta Higgs just now saying she wants to see 30 women in Parliament at some in the future soon.
Amen. From her mouth to God's ears.
Well, let's talk about that because people are texting and like, what difference will that make? Will that really make a difference for women in the country? Are you saying that men are not doing a good job advocating for women's issues?
No, not at all. I think that it makes a difference because the more voices you have in the conversation, because we all come with our own background experiences. I often give the example about the lockdowns, and I say, I think if more women were at the table, we would have had different considerations. I, for one, would have asked for Domino's and Wendy's to remain open because just the amount of cooking that much for that length of time, we're going to need some relief. But I think we bring different experiences to the table, and that helps any discussion.
Right. Yeah. So what would you say? Assess it now on the situation we have now, predominantly men, and not seeing as many women even vie for office. What do you think that's all about, and what can be done to improve that?
I think frontline politics is extremely intimidating, and it is particularly intimidating for women because there are things that they say about us that they do not say about the men. They criticize the way we look, the way we dress, we've put on weight, who are we sleeping with. They criticize us. And many women are reluctant. I myself was extremely reluctant for those very same reasons. So we need to work on creating an environment that encourages women to be a part of frontline politics because we have other considerations. We have school drop-off. We have after-school activities. We're often the primary parent in terms of day-to-day care for the children. So we need to have more resources and just create an environment that encourages us to get involved.
Yeah. We hear this all the time, though. But are the political parties doing this?
I think that they are. They are all trying in one way or another. I think that part of that also requires more women at the table to be a part of that discussion. Right. I think a table full of men, like, okay, how do we get the women in? It's not going to work. The women also need to be a part of that conversation. And there are organizations like CWIL, which actively, in fact, we had a seminar last year talking about how are we as women going to encourage other women to be in frontline politics, because you have to be deliberate about it. It's just not going to happen accidentally or as a coincidence or happenstance. We have to be very deliberate about how we encourage women to join us on this road.
Now those are some interesting words, because often some of the most discouraging people seem to be women. Is that an accurate thing to say? And why do you think that is?
I think that we as women hold ourselves to a higher standard. There's kind of the impression that as a woman, I represent all women. You are representing us, so I need you to be perfect. I need you to have it together. And that can be intimidating, and it can also be very critical because there's a lot of criticism that comes along with that. But again, when you actively and recognize that, okay, I'm going to actively encourage people to become a part of this, you change your tone and how you address people and how you encourage people. Because obviously, if you're creating a very critical environment, who's going to come along?
Yeah. The texter is saying it. You made a great point about people talking about women and how you look at your parents, but they say it's the women who are the main ones doing this. I don't know if that's true, but a lot of women definitely do and are very, very harsh.
I will say that it's both men and women. It's both men. I've had it from men and women.
Yeah.
So I think this is an equal opportunity criticism.
But I guess in politics, you have to, when you think about getting more women into politics, you're balancing, it's the same thing with the men, but you're balancing quantity and quality. But
Yes.
you're talking about trying to drive more women in here, but, where are they coming from? Who are they?
Well, So it's not just driving, it's driving women who we think are going to be good candidates and good members of parliament
Right.
and good cabinet ministers. That's who we want to attract. And usually these women are doing very well in their professional lives and their regular lives. So now we have to convince them to leave this area in which they are thriving, right? And accomplishing their goals to come into politics, which is very critical. People are hard to please. It's very fulfilling. I call it, the folder in my computer is called for love and service. That's how I define this. But we have to show people that it is worth it and that you are not going to leave this job, totally stressed out, gray hair, high blood pressure and all of that. We need to make it more appealing, an environment that they want to be a part of, because they all want to give back. We all want to see a better Bahamas for ourselves, for our children, for our great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
We have to make it appealing.
What's the number looking like in the youth associations of arms of the political bodies?
So interestingly, I can speak for the torchbearers. We actually have many, many young women. What we are noticing, though, is there seems to be a gap between when they age out of torchbearers at 30 and then become involved in the national party. That's where we see the difference, because not everybody makes that transition. So one of the things we need to look at is how do we get those 30-somethings? How do we get those 30-somethings involved actively in the party?
Right.
We understand that you're building a family, working on your career, and there are a lot of other boxes that you're ticking at the time, but we want to also make politics appealing for them so that they feel like they have a space and a voice and that they stay involved in the party.
Yeah. With some of the issues, we were talking about it in the previous segment, the citizenship rights and marital rape, that we're spinning, talking about the same things for decades.
Over and over and over again.
Do you really believe that if there were more women in Parliament that we would be in a different position?
You know what? Actually, I do. I do, because I think that it is an issue that I have to say, for me, both issues, yes, they are women's issues, but they are across the board, because a husband can be raped as well, right? Spouse is not gender specific. So it's a law that impacts husbands as well. It impacts married people. It just so happens that it's more likely that a woman is the person to be raped, right? Same thing with citizenship. I was explaining outside. Both men and women are disadvantaged by the citizenship laws in the Bahamas. You and I should be able to pass on our citizenship the same way to our children.
Right.
If we're going to say we're not passing it on to children born outside the Bahamas, that should be that way for men and for women. There should not be a difference.
Absolutely.
As women, though, these issues appear to be more important to us, and I think that we then would push them. And I think there's something slightly different about our personalities, in that we know it's the right thing to do. We know it's the right thing to do. I've had several conversations with the Minister for Social Services and the Minister of State, and both of them at least talk about being committed to the legislation. But we've seen this happen before.
Yeah.
Under the last PLP administration, they were, talked about it a lot, but nothing was ever tabled. So at this point, let's table it. Let's pass this legislation. Let's end this discussion, at least with relation to marital rape. How we deal with citizenship is a little more complicated. But in terms of marital rape, that's something we can do by statute. Let's do it.
Yeah. What do you make of this long delay, though, especially in at this very moment, waiting to hear back or educate the church more on this? What do you make of that?
Honestly, I think that it is an excuse. I think the church is extremely well educated in terms of the issues. Whether they have listened to the church's comments is a different story. But the church, and we use that term very generally, lowercase c, is well aware of the issues, and they have considered it, and they have talked about it, and they have suggestions, some of which are valid, which would achieve the same thing that the government wants to achieve, the same thing that we would like to achieve. There is a minority voice that is very opposed to it, and I think, one of the interesting things about politicians is we also like to win, right? They also want to be reelected, and so there is a hesitation to do anything that might cause you not to be reelected. But I think maybe I am naive, but I really don't think that Bahamians are going to go into the voter booth and say, "Well, I'm not voting for him because he won't let me rape my wife."
Right.
I don't think that's a consideration. I think there are
hope
bigger
that's not where
issues.
we are.
I hope that's
Right,
not where we are.
right.
Like I said, I'm optimistic and maybe I'm naive, but I think people are more concerned about immigration, crime, inflation. Those are the issues that drive them at the polls.
There are women in the country who've been doing these things for years. I think of Janet Boswick, who was recently honored by CARICOM, and whereas they read a thing about her for about 10 minutes, I mean,
I felt like it was 15.
yeah, like what has she not accomplished in the Bahamas? But she came up in the podium. She's like, the fight continues.
Oh, definitely.
Despite the amount of accolades and accomplishments she's had for women's rights in the country.
No, the fight continues. We are closer than we were before, but nowhere near where we need to be. There's legislation, but there's also a mindset, because women are generally not seen as being equal. We are seen as property. We are seen as something to be possessed, something to be dominated, and we need to change that mindset, because it impacts how people treat us in the workplace, in politics, and that's when we will have real equality, when we are seen as equals as opposed to an object.
Yeah.
You're seeing that here as well, because people will point to the number of women in especially middle management positions, and some at the top as well. Not as many as men, I'm sure. But people are saying, no, women are dominating business and industry in the country, and that can't apply to the Bahamas. But what is your experience? What do you say?
Yes, we are, and I was again speaking outside. Even if you just look at the number of attorneys graduating, when you see the classes from EDLS, it's also often 2 men and 10 women, and so yes, we have achieved equality. But I've also had matters where I am the senior attorney for my client. I have a male junior, and the male attorney on the other side refused to speak to me. He would only deal with my junior.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so there's still a mindset that needs to be.
Is that very common, or was that guy just a jerk?
I mean, it happens more than it happens. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. I had somebody call me for divorce advice, and he was like, "Well, okay, sweetie."
Oh.
No, I'm a lawyer. You're calling me for advice. But I think, like I said, we're a lot better than we used to be, but there's still a ways to go. Obviously, there are the statutory areas, but also a mindset.
Yeah. All right, we're going to break for news. We're going to pick this up on the other side. We're talking with Senator Michaela Barnett Ellis.
We'll get it right.
Right. Because we've been talking about how to pronounce it, I can't get it right anymore.
That happens to you a lot.
Yeah. Well, see, I have it right before, and then when I confirm then it's ruined forever. Oh, boy. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. It's International Women's Day. We'll be back. Stay with us.
She got both feet on the ground, and she's burning it down.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning and welcome to Morning Blend Business on this Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. It's a special edition of the show today. It is International Women's Day, and we are talking about that all morning long. And before the break, we were talking with Senator Michaela Barnett Ellis, and she's with us still. And we've got Alicia Wallace coming from Equality Bahamas in a few minutes. But Senator, so let's talk some more about some of the issues that you feel, the other issues that you feel women need to be thinking about and that we need to work on collectively as a country.
I think one of the other issues we need to work on is our daughters. You know, we need to give them the tools, teach them the lessons that we have learned, so that we need to pay it forward for them. We need to pay it forward for them. I, again, had a lovely conversation with your producer, and I talked about how we are pouring so much into our daughters, into our girls. And if you have daughters and you shop for T-shirts for them, they're all like girls rule, the future is female. We need to balance that a little. I think that we're starting to see that we have pushed our girls in such an amazing way that our boys have not gotten the same attention. Right. But we need to change how we talk to. We need to change how we talk to our girls. We need to get them involved in sciences, and girls are not just writers and art and drama. Let's get some more female scientists. My daughter loves STEM. Let's do more of that, more computer programming, and hopefully encourage them at a young age so that they see frontline politics as something that is reasonable. But no, just encourage our daughters. I think particularly in the Bahamas.
Are we still? I'm not saying that this has happened, but are we still sticking women in like token positions, especially in politics?
Yes.
Just to say we've done this. Look what we've done.
I think so. I think so, because there's such a pressure to have women that the I don't want to call it desperation, but the need to fill that quota, that need to say, yes, we have women, we support women is real. There's a lot of international pressure. There's a lot of national pressure because people want to see it. It's not a good look when you have an event and it's a bunch of men and you have no female representation. Right. There's a word for it, but we won't say it on the radio.
The fest.
But there's a real need, and sometimes it happens. Maxine and I are the only females in the F&M parliamentary. This is Maxine Seymour. Take it to the max. Hi, Maxine. Hey. But there's definitely we feel it. There's a need to. Okay, there's an event. Sorry, guys, you're the only two women. We need somebody there. We need the presence there because I think it's because they recognize that our voices are important to the conversation, and they want to be seen as having those voices as a part of the conversation. Yeah. But we need to, it needs to be more than just Maxine and I. Yeah. We need to get more women involved.
Yeah. And what about more women speaking? You mentioned it earlier. You've got to bring the politics into it. You're encouraging the government to pass the marital rape legislation, but the previous F&M administration
didn't do it
we
either.
Didn't do anything there, right? So we're not consistent, we're not seeing that across the board on some of these key issues. Why is that? And only once in a while will it flare up. And especially, with governments and how that works and what is that all about? And does that mean that we are not serious about these issues?
I think that, unfortunately, we are in a 5-year cycle routine right now, and it seems as if every 5 years we seem to start from scratch because each administration brings its own wills and desires, and the reality is the issues remain the same. The issues that the last administration had to consider are the same issues, say for maybe COVID and the lockdowns, but they're the same issues that the present administration is considering. And governments ought to be continuous, not just at the public service level, but at the higher levels. The hedge fund is a good example of something that really ought to have stayed in place and didn't, and we suffered adverse consequences as a result of it. And so we need to, we talk a lot about a national plan. we need to stick to the plan. We need to have a plan and stick to it. And that's the only way that these issues will be dealt with, because the reality is the Bahamas doesn't start over every 5 years. We want to see some continuity so that we can build up our Commonwealth.
Right. And is the opposition entirely on board with the marital rape legislation? I mean, is it only the women in the opposition speaking about it? Or where do things stand?
I think that we as a caucus continue to talk about it. It is very much an ongoing issue as we seek to learn. We've had town halls, for lack of a better word, where we speak with party supporters and get their views and get their input. And we've had some really great suggestions as to how to deal with it. And one of the issues that has been raised, for example, is the fact that marriage is actually a very special institution. So why are we lumping the rape that happens in marriage with the rape that happens outside of marriage? I have no problem with the offense. I have no problem with the penalties, but I think it needs to be something separate because it is peculiar because of that peculiar relationship between the husband and wife. And it's a valid point. It's a very valid point. So it is an ongoing discussion as we speak to party supporters and we seek to educate ourselves more about the matter.
Well, we're getting some interesting text messages here. We know we don't have too much time with you left, but this person's asking, our laws state that if a pregnant woman is murdered and the unborn child, the unborn child's life is interrupted, the unborn child's life doesn't count. Why are women's groups so quiet on this issue? They're saying, I'm not sure if you will read this on air, but it's a good question, and women in authority don't seem to want to speak on this or answer it. What's your view on that?
Well, thank you. I think it's part of a larger discussion because we need to talk about when life begins. And obviously then that leads to a conversation about abortion and the right to life. And so I think that it is, I think people avoid it because it is a very sensitive issue. But I also think that we need to have the discussion and we need to get the information so that we can have an informed discussion, because that's not something that is unique to the Bahamas. Right, yeah. And in fact, I think in other countries they have, or in the states, in particular states, they have I guess an age limit or a point in gestation where they consider that life begins. And so, if a pregnant woman is murdered and she's 3 months pregnant, it didn't count. But if she was 8 months pregnant, it's a different situation. Yeah. Similar to their abortion laws and parameters. And so I think it's part of a larger discussion that we need to have, and we need to have with the Bahamian public. Yes, it's an uncomfortable conversation. Nobody ever wants to think about that. Babies are precious, but we need to have it because that's a reality.
Yeah, on that issue, men and women are quiet on that.
Yes, everybody.
People talking about that.
Everybody is quiet about it because it's a sensitive issue. It's a tough thing to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. This person says here, we need our men and political parties to stop just saying they support women and start demonstrating it in a real way. Equal rights for women once and for all. Stop talking, start doing.
I wholeheartedly agree. I wholeheartedly agree, but I think that to the person who sent that text message, I think you're going to see a change because I think that the political parties recognize the importance of women just simply in the conversation, and so we're going to see a change.
All right, you're rushing off because you're giving a speech this morning. Is that right?
I am.
Yeah. What are you going to be talking?
I'm going to talk to Bahamas First, and I'm going to talk about International Women's Day, and my topic is her impact.
Okay.
So talk a bit about my experiences. So I look forward to it.
All right. Sounds good, Senator Michael Barnett Ellis. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to meet you in person.
In person, finally.
And I've known Chester a long time.
So hopefully we'll have you again very soon.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great day, and happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day. All right, we're going to be back. Alicia Wallace with Equality Bahamas is going to be with us when we get back. This is a special edition of Morning Blend Business on International Women's Day here on Guardian Radio 96.9.
Earning 0
zero interest on your savings at the bank? With as little as $100, you can start earning interest on your money while you're sleeping, eating, or standing in line at the bank with the CFAL Savings Express Plan. Ready to invest? Start by putting $1,000 into our mutual funds and earn interest there too. Because at CFAL, your interest is our interest. Visit cfal.com to start now. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations of Bahamians.
At Wendy's, we are different. We don't just use beef. It's fresh, never frozen. Our burgers are square because we never cut corners. Served hot off the grill with fresh lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and American cheese. We believe in fast food done right. Always serving fresh, never frozen beef. Order a hot, juicy Dave single, double, or triple. Made with fresh, never frozen beef. Now only at Wendy's. Different inside and out.
At Doctors Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off labs, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now.
With so much going on in the world today, only accepting cash at your business can be risky. Let Fidelity offer you and your customers safety, convenience, and the flexibility of a fixed or mobile terminal. Take it with you, on the move and on the go, because business should never stop. For more details, speak to one of our business development officers at 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 in Freeport. Visit our website at fidelitygroup.com or visit us at any of our branches.
Fidelity, we're good for you. Lucy Lou, with my girl Drew, Cameron D and Destiny, Charlie's Angels, come on. Question, tell me what you think about me. I buy my own diamonds and I buy my own rings. Only ring your celly when I'm feeling lonely. When it's all over, please get up and leave. Question, tell me how you feel about this. Try to control me, boy, you get dismissed. Pay my own condo and I pay my own bills. Always 50-50 in relationships. The shoes on my feet, I bought it. The clothes I'm wearing, I bought it. The rock I'm rocking, I bought it. 'Cause I depend on me if I want it. The watch I'm wearing, I bought it. The house I live in, I bought it. The car I'm driving, I bought it. I depend on me, I depend on me. All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me. All the honeys who making money, throw your hands up at me. All the mamas who rock the dollar, throw your hands up at me. All the ladies who truly feel me, throw your hands up at me. Girl, I didn't know you could get down like that. Charlie, how your angels get down like that. Girl, I didn't know you could get down like that. Charlie, how your angels get down like that.
We are back here with Morning Blend Business on Garden Radio 96.9, a special edition of the show on this International Women's Day. Dwight Strachan with Chester Robards, and joining us now, Alicia Wallace with Equality Bahamas. That was a Freudian slip. Oh boy, Equality Bahamas. There's still a lot of inequality out there, right, Alicia?
Yes, that's a very interesting slip.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. I didn't mean to at all. But hey, you are also in New York. Is that right?
Yes, I am. I'm here for the Commission on the Status of Women.
As well. Okay, wonderful stuff. What's your perspective on how that's been going so far?
It is always a very interesting event. I know that the folks on the government delegation typically go to the high-level meetings, as was mentioned earlier. What I tend to focus more on the parallel events. I find them a lot more interesting. Within the UN General Assembly and the side events within UN headquarters, you tend to get sort of the talk, the usual things, the things that people think that they should say, particularly representatives of governments. But at the parallel events, you hear more from NGOs, you hear a little bit from funders, and you also hear from folks in government, folks from treaty bodies, and get a little bit more of the reality on the ground in different countries. And there are a lot more opportunities for peer-to-peer learning and exchange.
Okay, so what are you hearing?
I'm hearing quite a bit about technology because that is the theme this year. The theme is around technology and innovation, and some of the most interesting conversations are challenging the ideas that we already have about technology and innovation. So when you think about these two words, you often think about phones and computers and apps, but there are conversations happening about different kinds of technology and what it looks like in Indigenous communities, in rural communities, in migrant communities. So we're hearing a lot from, in particular, folks from the Pacific who have their own technology for meeting. You can have Zoom sessions and you can use apps, but what's really effective is engaging with the leaders within particular communities. And they have what they call talanoas, where they will meet under trees and people show up because the person that they trust, the person in their community, has called them to come to this meeting, and they sit around informally and they're actually able to hash out a lot of issues.
So these issues aren't gender specific though, right? These will apply to people regardless of whether they're men or women, or are women more affected by this?
Yeah, it applies to, pretty much everything applies to everyone. But of course, women and girls have a particular situation. And then we're also remembering that women are not a homogenous group. So there are women who are Black women. We have women with disabilities. We have women who are LGBTQ or lesbian, bisexual, queer, trans women who have completely different experiences from, a white, straight woman. So thinking about all of these intersections and what that means for our access and what it means for the ways that we use technology and the way that technology uses us. So also in this space, there's a lot about technology-enabled violence. So the harassment, the sort of leaking of nudes and things like that, and how can we combat those things? Because as technology grows and becomes a solution, it's also presenting some challenges that we have to be able to address.
Well, okay, and that is a big problem here.
Huge.
In the Bahamas. Yeah.
Huge problem. Lots of revenge porn.
So what can be done in situations like that, and using technology for the betterment of women's lives?
It's a really difficult one. I think a lot of people are trying to fight platforms and trying to get platforms to change their rules and to ensure that they are protecting users and ensuring that users are not using their tools for abuse. So going after Twitter and Facebook and pushing them to put particular policies in place, which has worked to some extent, but a lot of times those policies can also turn around and work against us. And then on the other side of that is education. So educating people about the tools that they're using. So we have a lot of parents who have come to depend on devices to occupy their children. So parents need to know about some of the parental controls that they can put in place. We've seen a lot of stories that can be kind of funny about parents who didn't know until, $800 of pizza showed up at their house that their children were placing online orders. So there's that. And then there's ensuring that young people, in particular those young people that are, in their teens and have a little bit more autonomy, that they understand what they're sharing, what the implications of sharing are, and knowing that, just because you trust someone with something doesn't mean that they are going to keep that trust and that they're going to behave in the way that you expect. So being really careful about what you share and how you share it.
Right. Earlier, my little slip about inequality, right? People will say, we're already getting text messages about that. Like, what inequality are we talking about here? Of course, we know about the citizenship issues, and marital rape can be seen as that. But otherwise, many folks will say this is not a thing in the Bahamas. Our previous guest, Senator Michael Barnett Ellis, mentioned how in the law school you'll see more women than men. At UB, they've been saying that for years, since I was there. So what are we talking about when we say inequality? Women seem to be thriving. Why is that not exactly what's happening, Alicia?
Yeah, this is an incredibly interesting topic, and it comes up all the time because people see women to be succeeding, but there are so many things happening beneath the surface. So we need to understand, why is it that women are, performing well, women and girls in school, and understand that it's not necessarily translating to the workplace. So you can get all these degrees and you still end up under Bob, who has his bachelor's and you have your master's, and they'll claim that it's seniority or some other issue. We still have a gender wage gap, that gap is still sitting at about 30%. That hasn't been dealt with yet. And this is something that we can address. We know that everyone pays national insurance, which means that national insurance knows what your pay rate is, what the scale looks like, and who's being paid what. We don't have pay transparency. We have, people have very carefully created a dynamic where it is taboo to talk about your pay with your coworkers or with anyone else. And that only serves the employer. That doesn't serve us. We need to know what other people are getting paid and if we're being paid more unfairly or if we're being paid less unfairly. So the gender wage gap, education's translating to employment. That's not really something that's happening. We also have the proliferation of violence against women and girls, and we see it in the news every day. And it's really important that people understand that what we see and hear in the news is the tip of the iceberg. There are so many unreported incidents of violence within families, within households, even within workplaces. People are afraid to talk about it. People do not feel confident that if they report, that one, their report will be taken, two, that they will be believed, and three, that they will ever have access to justice through the court system.
I don't know if this is very important to us here, but just in terms of how we're doing compared to other countries in the region, how are we looking?
So we have, I can't share too much on this. Hopefully I'll be able to talk about this in a few weeks. We recently completed a women's health survey, which is essentially the same survey that was done in 6 other Caribbean countries, including Guyana, Grenada, and Suriname. And pretty much all of the countries have very similar numbers. I can't speak to the numbers in the Bahamas yet, but the last set of numbers that we had, particularly from UN Women, showed that the Bahamas has the highest rate of rape by far in the region per capita, which is definitely a cause for concern. We're in a really difficult situation right now. I know it was recently announced that there would be a domestic violence and sexual violence unit within the police, which is great, but we need to know more about what that unit is going to look like and how it's going to function. Because what happens if you set a particular building aside for women to be able to report, or for anyone to be able to report domestic and sexual violence, and you say that this is a safe place, this is where police are really trained to deal with this, and maybe we also have an examination room here, which is what we really need to have, a one-stop reporting center. It means that anyone driving by and seeing, Joe's wife go in there is going to start talking. Oh, I see Joe's wife going to that place. Something must be happened to her. So-and-so must be getting raped. You know how we go. You know how Bahamians go. So we have to be really careful about what this unit looks like. And it's really important to us that unit is dispersed among the different police stations around the island, because every single police officer needs to be trained in taking these reports, taking them seriously, and being able to refer women and girls to supportive services, including health, social services, and mental health service providers.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know the response rate of police to domestic violence calls.
It would be interesting to have that. Well, I can tell you in some focus groups and interviews that we've done, a very high percentage of women said that their reports were not taken seriously. Some even said that the police told them they just need to go to bed, go lay down with the man, and things can be fine in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's talk about this some more. What do you think is accounting for this? And is it that our reporting is better, or do you think we have some unique and special issues in the Bahamas?
Our reporting on the numbers, you mean?
Yes, rape and sexual violence, any of that.
I don't think so. People ask this question. I don't think that we are particularly great at reporting. I think that for many people, the violence escalates and they become more and more afraid. And so they're willing to put so to speak, their lives on the line. If this person is going to kill me anyway, I may as well try and get some help. I think it pushes people to the limit, and it's to the point where I'm actually going to try something that I don't think is going to work because staying here isn't working.
Mm-hmm. So you think that we do have serious issues here then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you think is accounting for that? What is it exactly?
People don't seem to care.
Mm-hmm.
People really don't seem to care. You expect that maybe if the police aren't helpful, family members or religious institutions would be, but these people are echoing the same sentiments as the police, and we hear it in the public discourse all the time. Some people may not even try to go to anyone because they hear the responses, they see the comments on the news stories, and they're hearing the comments from strangers, but they're also hearing what people are saying at their dinner tables and around their work coolers about these stories. And, well, why she was standing in front of the TV. Remember that story a few years ago where the guy said the woman was blocking his view to the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he did what he did. People are paying attention to what is being said in these very casual, offhand conversations about violence. And it's very clear that far too many people do not care. Victim blaming is very, very high, very, very common. We see it even with the missing girls. And for me, when people will say things about missing girls, like they bad, they want that, they deserve what they get, we ain't looking for them, they're going to come home eventually. If that's what you're saying about a 14, 15-year-old girl, what are you going to say about an adult who you think should be able to defend themselves? That doesn't really inspire any kind of trust or belief that women are going to be assisted.
Yeah. And these attitudes are learned at a very young age, it seems, right? You've got children talking like this. And is anything being done to address this?
Not on a national level. We have been, at Equality Bahamas, we've been pushing for comprehensive sexuality education. We've also been pushing for conflict resolution in schools. Understanding this is really important to have at all grade levels. And of course, the content, the curriculum is going to be age appropriate. So we need our 5, 6, 7-year-olds to understand what consent means, and that if they feel uncomfortable, there's probably a reason for that. And they should be able to say no, and they should be able to talk to their parents about what, so-and-so family friend said or did. These conversations have to start early, because as they become desensitized to certain things and they have the understanding that, I'm supposed to be uncomfortable because that's what respect means or that's what love means, then it's only going to get worse when they get into relationships in their teens and in their adult life.
I think it was hinted at when we had the conversation with Michael Barnett Ellis, but there are some women who are not on board with this. There are some women who are pushing back against some of these women's issues. How is that kind of impeding your progress?
It's not easy, but we do have the understanding that a lot of these systems have really informed the way that we think. And in many ways, misogyny is internalized the same way that in many ways racism is internalized. That's where colorism comes from, right? The idea that the closer you are to whiteness, the better you are. Mm-hmm. The same thing that the closer you are to performing womanhood in a particular way, the better person you are and the least deserving you are of violence. And maybe you wouldn't experience violence if you would just submit. There are a lot of these ideas that come from patriarchy, that come from misogyny, that come from religious fundamentalism. And we just have to remember that we are pushing back against these systems, and we have to make these connections and help people to understand where they come from. But also, when people reject our calls for women's rights, we have to be very clear that, we deserve to have these rights. These are legal rights. We have them through the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Bahamas knows, the government knows what they have signed on to, and they've signed all of these different conventions and declarations through these treaty bodies. And it doesn't mean that you have to use your rights if you don't want to. If you decide that marital rape does not exist in your household, and that whenever your husband wants to have sex, you are going to participate in that, then that's your business. No one is going to make you report your husband for rape. But other people who want to be able to say no should have the right to say that this was violence against me and I expect recourse.
Oh, Alicia, I think you need to say that again because I don't think people understand that. I mean, right? If you think it's fine, that's for you, but there are going to be people out there who are going to be tortured, essentially. Why would you prevent them from being able to seek some justice?
Right.
It's very
and
strange.
we're not all subscribing to the same beliefs. We're not all subscribing to the same religion, for example, and that's the one that comes up the most, right? We hear the most from people who will quote the Bible and they will quote it incorrectly and misinterpret it. That's another story. But, that's fine for you to live your life in that way if you are agreeing to that, because in some ways that is consent. We're talking about where there is no consent. People have to be able to be protected by the law. And this is a right that we have. This is under, again, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says that we should have equal protection under the law. And right now, we don't. People who are married do not have the same protection as people who are not married. And, if this is really a country that is really feeling strongly about morality and that you have to get married before you have sex and before you have children, then let's not drive people away from marriage by making it possible for people to be able to be raped in marriage and not have any recourse. Right. Let's make it more attractive for people to be married by ensuring that they can pass on citizenship to their children. Otherwise, we are making a case for not getting married. And I promote that. Don't get married if you don't want to get raped and if you want to be able to pass on citizenship to your children. That's where we are as a country.
Oh, boy. Wow. We get, I know you hear them. We get calls often about some of the things we talk about on the show seem to be promoting a liberal agenda. I don't know what that is, but that's what we're accused of. What do you say to people who are saying that, what's happening internationally that is part of a liberal movement and we're moving away from conservative values and that's not gelling with who we are as a people and we need to reject the what's happening around us to maintain and preserve who we are?
Well, first, the government right now, the majority of people in the government are from a party called the Progressive Liberal Party. So most people who voted for that party, which is quite interesting that they consider liberal to be a bad word and that they consider progress to be a bad thing and something that we need to stop. So that's one thing. The other is that, we have a lot to learn from other countries. We don't just exist out here in the ocean by ourselves. We're in a wider world. And these are not foreign agendas the way that people will have you believe them. Every time we talk about CEDAW, which is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or the Bill of Women's Rights, people get very upset and say that it's a foreign agenda and the United Nations is forcing things on us. That's simply not true. The Bahamas chose to ratify CEDAW almost 30 years ago. In October, we'll be celebrating 30 years. I don't know if it's a celebration, but we'll be commemorating 30 years since the Bahamas ratified that convention and committed to doing certain things, ensuring that there is access to healthcare, ensuring that there is no discrimination in the law, and in fact that there is non-discrimination enshrined in the Constitution, ensuring that there are equal rights between women and men with regard to citizenship and being able to pass it on to spouses as well as children. All of this is in that convention, and the Bahamas said, yes, this looks good. This is something we need to do. This is something that is good for the people. The same goes for the Convention on the Rights of the Child. The Bahamas said, this is great. We need to protect the rights of children. Let's sign on to this and let's work toward this. To the extent that the Bahamas government reports or should report to these treaty bodies regularly. It does not report as it should to the Convention on the Rights of a Child, but it does report to CEDAW. It is going to be up again soon. It should have been up actually last year, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the CEDAW committee is a bit behind in their review. So, the Bahamas is still expected to submit its report. And I heard earlier guests were talking about the parallel reports or the shadow reports. And I want to make it very clear, this is extremely important that NGOs participate in these treaty bodies by providing parallel and shadow reports. If the committee only has the government report to go on, it's going to be looking with rose-colored glasses because the government is going to say, well, we tried. And this is the thing that's in the works. Whereas those of us who are on the ground and who have been engaging with them or being denied engagement with them, we can say, this is what's actually happening. This is what we asked for. These are the meetings that have been denied. This is the conversation that's happening in the public. This is what the government is or is not saying in response to these conversations, so that they have basically two sides. You know, in an ideal world, we would be presenting the same perspective on what's happening in the country, but really what we are, it's definitely two sides. The government says one thing, and then NGOs bring another perspective. So it's incredibly important that we participate in these processes so that the committee has a full picture and is able to give helpful, effective recommendations that if the government does implement them, it would move us forward.
Alicia Wallace with Equality Bahamas. We're going to take a break. When we come back, are you ready for the text messages? They're coming in. And,
I'm not sure.
Oh, boy. We'll see. We'll see how it goes when we get back. This is Morning Blend Business on Guardian Radio 96.9. Stay with us.
When it's all over, please get up and leave. Question, tell me how you feel about this. Try to control me, boy, you get dismissed. Pay my own condo and I pay my own bills. Always 50-50.
Earning zero interest on your savings at the bank? With as little as $100, you can start earning interest on your money while you're sleeping, eating, or standing in line at the bank with the CFAL Savings Express Plan. Ready to invest? Start by putting $1,000 into our mutual funds and earn interest there too. Because at CFAL, your interest is our interest. Visit CFAL.com to start now. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations of Bahamians.
At Wendy's, we are different. We don't just use beef, it's fresh, never frozen. Our burgers are square because we never cut corners. Served hot off the grill with fresh lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and American cheese. We believe in fast food done right. Always serving fresh, never frozen beef. Order a hot, juicy Dave single, double, or triple. Made with fresh, never frozen beef. Now only at Wendy's. Different inside and out.
At Doctor's Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off lab, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctor's Hospital, trusted and best care now.
With so much going on in the world today, only accepting cash at your business can be risky. Let Fidelity offer you and your customers safety, convenience, and the flexibility of a fixed or mobile terminal. Take it with you, on the move and on the go, because business should never stop. For more details, speak to one of our business development officers at 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 in Freeport. Visit our website at fidelitygroup.com or visit us at any of our branches.
It is time for your morning business report, brought to you by CFAL. The opposition calling it unacceptable that the government issued public notices telling short-term vacation rental owners that they are now required to register with the government without any cabinet minister formally explaining the new policy. The Department of Inland Revenue announcing last week that effective March 1st, short-term vacation property owners are required to register with the department by the end of April via its newly established online portal. We're talking about places like Airbnb and Vrbo. As a result, they would officially become recognized by the Bahamian government, become eligible for funding, would not face 2023 business license or registration fees, and also get free advertising. The DIR said its immediate objective was to identify up to 10,000 short-term vacation rental properties as it seeks to properly regulate the industry. Well, East Grand Bahama MP Kwesi Thompson, who is also the opposition Shadow Minister of Finance, questioned what legal authority makes registration of these properties mandatory. You can read more about what he's saying in today's Guardian business section. High insurance premiums will unfortunately be part of living in the geographic region in which the country, the Bahamas, belongs. And those prices will not abate anytime within the next year. That's according to Group President and CEO of Bahamas First Insurance, Patrick Ward. Ward, speaking to Guardian Business on the sidelines of the insurance company's 40th anniversary celebration, he lamented that the general understanding of the natural disaster risks associated with the region have led reinsurers to increase reinsurance costs in the region. Ward also said insurance coverage in the Bahamas has been able to be close to consistent across years despite the increases. Ward says as insurance prices increase, the insurance sector could be forced to look at new alternative types of products for people in lower income brackets to be able to transfer their risk. He explained that the industry has talked about these kinds of smaller insurance products before. Despite the controversy and domino effect in the cryptocurrency industry caused by the collapse of cryptocurrency exchange FTX, consumer confidence in the volatile currency remains high, according to research from Paxos, a leading regulated blockchain infrastructure and tokenization platform. Crypto users remain unfazed in the midst of volatility in the crypto market. Paxos said it found that 75% of respondents to its research said they are very confident or somewhat confident in the future of cryptocurrency. And overseas, the Biden administration is suing to block JetBlue Airways' $3.8 billion purchase of Spirit Airlines, saying that the deal would reduce competition and drive up airfares for customers. The Justice Department said the tie-up would especially hurt cost-conscious travelers who depend on Spirit to find cheaper options to JetBlue and other airlines. Attorney General Merrick Garland holding a news conference to announce the antitrust lawsuit, a sign of the importance that the administration places on stopping further consolidation within the airline industry. Garland saying that if it were allowed to proceed, the merger will limit choices and drive up ticket prices for passengers across the U.S. and eliminate Spirit's unique and disruptive role in the industry. The Justice Department lawsuit filed in federal district court in Boston stressed that the deal would mean the end of the nation's biggest ultra-low-cost carrier. Those are airlines that generally provide the cheapest fares, but also tend to charge more fees. In your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX. From Tuesday, your market movers, Fidelity Bank moving 50 shares, closing at $18.10 unchanged. Focall moving 300 unchanged at $3.99. Consolidated Water unchanged at $3.08, and Emira Incorporated down 2 cents, closing at $9.65. The BISX All-Share Index closing at 2,602.81 unchanged. That's your Market Watch, and that is your morning business report brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations. We're back here with Morning Blend Business on International Women's Day, a special edition of the show. Dwight Strachan along with Chester Robards with you. We are talking with Alicia Wallace now with Equality Bahamas. And we've got quite a few messages here, Alicia. Let's see if we can get through these. And you can text us as well, folks. 422-4796. And call in 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Earlier, you were talking about the wage gaps. Somebody's saying here, men get paid more because they work longer hours and take riskier jobs.
This is a text message?
This is a text. Oh, boy. There's no pay gap, but there is an earnings gap, and women earn less because they choose to leave work to raise families. Tell your guest to be honest because we, the public, aren't stupid.
There's no pay gap. There's an earning gap.
That's inaccurate.
Choose to leave
People
to
are
raise
being
families.
paid based on the hours that they work. So we're talking about salaries and we're talking about wages. I'm very glad that the texter brought up the point about raising families. This is also something that Equality Bahamas is working on, recognizing that women are really doing the unpaid work of domestic and care. And one of the things that we'll be working on this year actually is calling, along with the Bahamas National Breastfeeding Association, for a longer maternity leave, but also that we have parental leave with some time allocated specifically for fathers, because the fact that only women get time off after having a child helps to create this idea within society that women are responsible for taking care of the family, when that's simply not true. It was the case some time ago for white people, not for black people, because black women have always worked, that, the women would stay at home and take care of the household and the children.
Oh, you think that's what this
out.
texter meant? Like that the women leave for maternity leave? That's what they're calling that? Oh my goodness.
And
that's crazy.
Who does the school pick up? When the child is sick, does the school call the mother or the father? These kinds of things as well. But there are so many ways that we can deal with that. This is an issue also of inequality. It's an inequality in the distribution of labor within households and within families that we need to deal with. And we can also talk about the responsibility of employers, particularly large employers that have, 100 or more employees. We're seeing changes in other parts of the world where employers are saying, look, let's have a daycare on floor X of the building so that you know where your children are, you collect them at the end of the day. If something goes wrong, you're closer to your children, you can deal with it more quickly than if you have to leave the property. So it's an issue of profit, of course, but it's also some social responsibility and recognizing that there is more that we can do to make a lot smaller this gender gap and the gender inequality.
How long are you proposing for the parental leave? How long do you think it should be for the men?
We're in the process of researching right now. I know the ILO convention speaks to maternity leave, and their recommendation 190 has a longer leave than what they had in their convention. For the paternity leave or the parental leave, there are so many examples out there. I saw one that said 270 days a year that can be split between the parents. So we're looking at different models in different countries to see what worked best. One of the concerns that people have is that if we have a blanket parental leave, that the mothers would end up taking all of the time. But we've seen that there are countries where the time can be shared as people like, but a certain amount of it is not transferable. So if the father doesn't take it, then it's lost.
We know of some places where if you're not married as a man, you don't get the paternity leave. Is that fair? What do you think of that?
Definitely not. The real issue, I think, is ensuring that the people who are taking leave are actually doing the care work.
That's the issue.
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
I can tell you, we need at least a month. Especially for women who come home with cesarean.
Yes, you come home and you have to heal, but you also have to take care of this brand new human being that you have.
Wow. Okay, so the texter is, yes, that's what they meant when the women leave. The texter is saying, I'm assuming it's a he, that women have breasts and they breastfeed and have babies. That's why they leave. Men don't have breasts. This guest is dishonest. And they're also asking, Alicia, if I'm married and if you are married. We don't have to answer that question. It has nothing to do with this conversation at all. It's very foolish. But okay. Wow. I don't understand. What is that? What is that? What is this?
What does that mean?
What is going on? 2023 in the whatever. Okay. All right, thank you very much, texter. That's a lot.
Some breasts
stuff.
Some breasts don't do what they're supposed to do, and they're problems. What is this person talking about?
I don't know what's happening.
And maternity leave is paid, by the way.
Yeah.
In the Bahamas.
I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
They leave to go on maternity leave? Come on now. Boy, oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. This person says here, I agree with what your guest is saying on the horrors of physical abuse, but she's mixing too many other topics and issues together. Assuming that the word progressive means accepting everything that American liberals define as progressive is not specific to our country. I consider myself progressive, but I do not believe that men who trans into women should be allowed to compete against natural-born women in sports.
Trans into women. Well, that's an incorrect use of terms. There are trans people and there are cis people.
I mean, but that's such an interesting issue that why would that one be brought up with all the things we're talking about? Because I mean, a lot of people.
I was the one that was mixing up.
A lot of people who support anyone transitioning might think that this is not fair either. So okay, all right, folks. Let's focus a little bit today. But I don't know. Do you want to say anything more on that, Alicia?
No. Trans rights are human rights, just like women's rights are human rights, and that's it.
All right. Your guest is suggesting that married women are being raped by their husbands, and rather than filing for legal separation, they're staying in that marriage while they wait on the government to pass a law to say no is no. I find this very laughable at best.
What?
That's what you heard, Texter?
How you get that?
Yeah, that's definitely not what I said, but it's a really important point because there are a lot of people who are saying we don't need to criminalize marital rape because people can just get a divorce. And those are two separate issues. You can decide that you no longer want to be with this person. You're going to go live somewhere else. You're going to, separate, divide your assets, whatever. That's one thing. But accessing justice for this horrific act of violence is different. And getting a divorce is not justice for this.
All right, so
we still need to criminalize it.
People are hearing words and just picking on the words. So this is very disturbing. This person says here, so people only get married for papers. That's the only issue with marriage. I can't get citizenship. They have an agenda because marriage should be about love and not citizenship and papers. Oh my goodness.
Why are you reading that?
Oh my goodness. I just need
we
people,
didn't even talk.
I need people to understand.
Wow.
Marriage has never been about just love, though. It's always been about having access and being legally recognized so that you can do a number of things like get a mortgage by combining your finances and having a better pool of money together, being able to access citizenship, being able to travel together, being able to have children who have the same last name as both people. Marriage has so many different purposes.
Yeah. And I think they're about to, this part doesn't sound right at all. Other countries have a constitution and do not pass on citizenship as well, not just the Bahamas, and that's a tiny fraction of an issue with marriage. How did you jump from rape to citizenship? I'm sorry, but I asked. That's why she did that. I asked, because those are two big issues that we have gender inequality on.
Also, we can cover lots of things.
Right. So, no agenda.
There are 25 countries that have this issue of citizenship with the children. I'm very aware of that. Equality Bahamas is a part of the global campaign for equal nationality rights that's working internationally to help different countries. We have been working quite a bit with Family Frontiers in Malaysia that's making great progress. Their government has now finally said that they are going to make the necessary changes to their constitution and within their policies to ensure that women are able to pass on citizenship to their children. So we have been engaging with other people in other countries, other organizations, and learning a lot from the way that they have conducted their campaigns.
Oh, so a previous texter has come back. Okay, so simpler question. Does your guest believe that trans women should be allowed to compete against natural-born women in sports? This is a whole other show, though. But I don't know if you want to come back, Alicia, because I do want to have that show. Would you be a part of that? Would you be willing to be a part of that discussion?
Sure. Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Because I think that is fascinating, and that's something that's very different from what we were trying to talk about today. I think. Do you think it is very different, or do you think it's
pretty different? It's so. Yeah, the whole conversation about sports is very specific. And today is International Women's Day, and we're talking about embracing equity and what that means. And that's very connected to these legal issues that you've brought up, Dwight. And so I think it's really important that we talk about those.
Yeah. So I'll give you a date. We'll talk about that. Maybe just in time for Carifta. That'll set some people off.
That should be fun.
All right. Alicia Wallace, we're out of time already. Thank you so much. Hopefully when you get back, we can get an update on what's happening in New York there and what you are hearing and learning at the parallel meetings. It sounds very exciting. But thank you for the work that you're doing with Equality Bahamas, and thank you for being with us this morning, and happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on today. And I look forward to coming back and talking more about what happens at CSW and some of the events that we have coming up at Equality Bahamas.
All right. Wonderful stuff. Thank you again. Chester Robards.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
I'll see you next week. And I'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend and Morning Blend business right here on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, have a great day, everybody. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green coming up next.
Woman